Hari Om. Start the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakattvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mamadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Vedanta question and answers, and one of the interesting questions is, what is an object? Obviously, everything there, people know that what is an object, but let's define a little bit clearly. So what is an object, number one? So simple example is whatever that can be known. So that is essentially the qualifications for an object is knowability. And knowability means it is something that I can know. How do I know? We just discussed different ways of pramanas. That means by means of knowledge I can know. So if there is an object out there in front of me, say seeing is an object. Seeing is a means of knowledge to know something is there in front or not. So seeing, hearing, all the senses are means of knowledge to know the objective world. So every object is, the first qualification is, it is the prameyam. Prameyam means it is object for a knowledge, prama, for by using a pramana. So any object that can be known comes under prameyam. And what cannot be known, and that means there is a means of knowledge, pramana, has to be used to know prameyam. And obviously there has to be a pramata also, a knower. So we have knower and known object. Knower is the subject, and the relation or establishing is called pramana, means of knowledge. So knower is different from a known, and a means of knowledge is different from the knower and known too. So this or three called triputis or triad is always there in this. And now we define a little bit more carefully. Object is that which is knowable, and therefore that means I can know spatially or time wise, and therefore the object wise. That means this object is known different from the other object that I know. Then only it is a different object. So if an object, a chair is sitting there, the chair has to be different from its environment, surroundings, for me to differentiate chair from the rest of the environment or space. So it is desha, kala, vastu, parichinnam. It is limited by space-wise, time-wise, object-wise. Or conversely, we put a converse statement, that which is knowable, that which is prameyam, is an object. Number one. We said object is knowable. Now, conversely, whatever is knowable entity is an object. And this occurs not only for the perceptual data, information, even the anumana pramana that we discussed, object that can be deduced is also known. Now I know what it was the cause for it. So it is a deductive knowledge, and therefore it is also knowable entity. So that is what is the anything knowable is an object, and object is knowable, anything knowable is object. And anything that is objectified has to be different from so many other things. So I should have a way of distinguishing, this is a chair, that's a table, that is a bed, this is this. So each one is different. So it is a parichinnam, limited by object-wise. Chair is different from a table, table is different from a bed, and so on. So desha, space-wise, kala, time-wise, vastu, object-wise, it has to be distinguishable or differentiation. So the differentiable, and therefore it is not only knowable, but it's also limited by space, limited by time, and limited by object-wise also. And anything that is knowable, anything that is limited by space, anything limited by object-wise is an object now. So it is a conversely also works. Therefore we use that converse theorem also to say any desha kala vastu parichinnam is an object only. So anything limited by space-wise, time-wise, object-wise is not the subject but an object. So we have to be careful now. We are building the subject-object relationship because subject cannot be known, so it's not a prameyam, and therefore also by other converse aspects that it cannot be desha, kala and vastu, parichinnatvam is also not there. And that's what is the inquiry involved. So anything that is limited by space-wise, time-wise, object-wise becomes an object. Then how do we know it's limited? Why chair is limited by table? It's a simple fact is that the attributes of chair are different from attributes of the table. Suppose I have another chair. Are the attributes are the same? So attributes are chair attributes, chairness may be the same, but still there are individual, that is called the internal differences are there, and within the jati, in the Swajati, there is all chairs are of the same family, but in that family there is a chair differences, and this becomes important when say, is there a difference between a jiva to jiva? Is there a Swagata Vedas are there? So jiva can be different from the different species like the world, which is inert entity, Jagat, and therefore Jiva Jagat Bhinnam may be there, but how about Jiva Jiva Bhinnatvam? That Vyakti Vyakti Bhinnatvam, that's also can be there if I associate with a knowable entity. So anything knowable is limited, space-wise, time-wise, object-wise, and anything knowable must have attributes. Attributes means that can be the quality attributes, its qualities or gunas that can make an object known. In a chemistry lab, you are trying to investigate what chemical that is. This is one of the exams we go through in the chemistry, where identification of the chemical. What do we do? How do we identify a chemical? Oh, it's white. That's only one aspect of it. But there are so many things white, it cannot differentiate that object properly. So we do experiments to differentiate, to determine what are the properties, attributes of that which differentiate that chemical from rest of the chemicals. So using the attributes, I can identify what the object is. Conversely, object is that which has attributes. So we have now defined a desha kala vastu parichinnatvam, limitation by space-wise, time-wise, object-wise, and also through attribute-wise. And this becomes qualifications, and we saw later that I am the subject which is not any of these limitations of desha kala vastu parichinnam and also attributes too. With that we stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Sishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah.